What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. The Sooners are officially in the SEC. It's official today, the moment for 3 years that I think most or all Sooner fans should have been waiting for. Historic times at the University of Oklahoma across the board in all sports. But football gets the taste of it first. We are joined tonight, special guest here, Steve Stutzman joining us. Appreciate Steve taking time out. It's a little later where he's at, but appreciate him being here tonight to talk about this kind of historic day in the SEC.
Hey, glad to be on, guys. Just glad to be part of the Surgeaholics, and man, what a day! What a day! Moving forward, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, the Sooners did land Cortez Mills today, the four-star receiver, closing out that recruiting class. Steve, why don't we start with maybe a lot of people don't know about the athletic background in your family. I don't know who the best athlete is in your family, but I know Sabrina won a national championship at Florida State. Talk to us maybe about just the family athletic background. I know you've been heavily involved in your son and daughter and their athletic prowess. Just talk to us a little about that.
I appreciate that. So I met my wife at Baylor. She's played basketball. She's from Puerto Rico. A little point guard, little 5'6" point guard. Just a dribbling machine. Just phenomenal ball handling skills, and can shoot. And then we had, of course, our oldest daughter Sabrina. Uh, Kind of stumbled into softball after she decided competitive cheer and jazz dance and all that stuff. Thank goodness it wasn't for her. And then Danny being around softball for 10 years, he finally got to do his thing. So it was pretty cool growing up and watching now. Sabrina has our little grandson Lucas. Who's almost 2 years, it'll be 2 years in March, but he's the next wave. So, but I would say that the athlete of the family would be, I would have to say mom's. Well, I'd say, you know what, it's kind of a mix. Mom has the dedication because she probably wasn't the most athletic, but she just beat everybody with heart and skill. And then I was probably most athletic, and then I think Danny kind of got. Kind of both things from mom and dad. So it's pretty cool.
Someone's asking who Danny's favorite NFL team is.
Well, I'm from Texas, and he grew up a Cowboy fan, and he probably wouldn't say it, but that's we've turned the TV off many a Sunday because he felt like every time he was watching it was because he was, so he turned it off. But yeah, it was definitely the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, kind of just your opening thoughts. Oklahoma officially in the SEC. What are your expectations for this season?
Well, you look at everybody looks at the schedule, and it's definitely a gauntlet. There's no doubt about that. Uh, but when you want to be the best, you got to play the best, and there's nothing more exciting than having to be tested every week. I feel like some of the teams in the past were very good, and when you play, sometimes you play down to your competition, and that's where you stumble. And it's happened with a lot of purple teams in the past, and I feel, and I think anybody will tell you that when you have to play the best every week, you rise to the occasion, and that's what the SEC is going to do. You're gonna rise to the occasion every week. You're going to have to put your best. You're going to have to be deep. You're going to have depth, and it's a battle of attrition, and who's going to be the healthiest at the end is going to be is going to be left standing.
Yeah, and I know we talked prior to this. You're excited about the road venues and what you just said there, Steve, about, and really a lot of the viewers, we talk night in, night out about expectations and what this conference is going to be like. And I remember Danny said something in regards to, they were talking about Smitty's workouts, and Smitty was talking a lot about, the SEC. And I think, and I'm paraphrasing here, but Danny said something like, I'm sick of kind of hearing about this. This is Oklahoma. This is the expectation should be that.
No, it is funny, man. Listen to all the comments. That the other teams around the SEC are saying, "Oh, you're going to get a big taste." And are we SEC ready? I mean, come on, man. It's Oklahoma. I mean, come on. They've been part of the standard for for a long, long time. Uh, of course, they're ready. That's no doubt about it. And what's funny is to be like, well, Texas is up and all. I'm like, come on, man. That's just bull. Look, if you go SEC, any team in SEC, I'll take any roster with OU against anybody. And if you look at that, we probably got a top five roster in the SEC, and it's only getting better, better and better. So you got to have that mentality. I mean, it's just crazy to think that, oh, we're going to be in for a shock. Man, I've been to a ton of OU games. I played in SEC venues. Yes, yeah, fans are crazy. So is OU. So it's just going to be like that week in and week out, except for the occasional SEC little uh, I don't know, but they inserted the little the non-con they throw in there for
November,
years.
yeah.
Yeah, a little November game that gets thrown in there. But hey, it's awesome that that we're gonna get to compete, and you're gonna be tested early. And I think the fans will like it. I know the players are. The players can't wait. It's just finally here. What, after 2 years? They announced it 2 years ago, and
Yeah.
we finally to the point. So it's awesome. I'm excited for the fans.
Yeah, and November 2nd is that game that OU gets Maine University, November 2nd this season. And then they got that three-headed stretch there at the end of Missouri on the road. Hunter, it's Missouri on the road, right? And then
Yep.
LSU's the last game. And what's between those two? It's Bama,
Al-
Alabama.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Alabama, there's a bye week.
Alabama, and then we get a bye week right before Alabama, bye week before
Yeah,
Texas, and a bye week before Alabama. That's huge.
That
that
is
that
huge.
That's huge.
is that is massive for Oklahoma. Again, a very tough schedule, but to kind of get it to lay out to where two of your bigger games you get bye weeks helps a
Yeah.
lot.
No, absolutely. Hey, to answer one of the questions, Sooner fan talking about was Danny's deciding factor, and that was really just he wanted to see everything through. There's four left from his class. It's Danny, Ethan, and Jaleel, and he wanted to see finish things with them, get them guys, lead the fans into the Sooner Nation to SEC, and really leave it unfinished. He didn't want to be in camp anywhere going, man, I wish I could, wish I could go back, because you can't. But he can never, ever, ever say that he wishes he could go back, because there was no, he did it. It's over. That chapter is gone. So I'm excited for him. And once I know all the stress that he did to come to that decision, and it was just a relief when I said, dude, just it sounds like we're talking about. I'm like, dude, it's done. Just do it. What do you want me to do? How can I help you? What do you need me to do? I can talk to agents. I can do whatever you want to help you out. So I'm glad he chose to come back. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
look at the – go ahead. Go ahead, Hunter.
yeah. How much do you think this year in the SEC is going to help him eventually to get? You mentioned training camp to get to that next step in the NFL next season.
You know what? It just shows. It just validates. That he can play with anybody. I mean, it was Edrin Cooper from A&M was the first linebacker taken off the board, and actually the guy, one of my friends, Yo Murphy, who trains these guys for the combine. He trained Edge Cooper for combine, and he knows Danny, and he's over in Tampa, and he said that Danny was right there with his measurables. So it's just a matter of it's first and foremost staying healthy, and that's the key to any football guy. I'll tell you, nobody likes to talk about it, but you just gotta play with reckless abandonment, and just play smart.
Yeah. Uh, this question here, it was SEC Mike Monty. SEC Mike was in town. He came on our podcast a month or two ago, but I guess he was talking about how impressive the stuff was at the University of Oklahoma. And I guess as Sooner fans probably take some of that for granted. They're going to get to see a lot on the road this year in the SEC. And I think that's going to be cool to see. Steve, you talked about Danny coming back with that group of four. You look down the center of the defense, you got DeJoun Terry, you got the transfer in of Dominique Williams. You got Danny there in the middle of the defense, and then you got Billy Bowman on the back end. Woody Washington also. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know if we can talk about him being a top 15. That may be a little much. I don't think it's out of the realm equation to be a top 10, a top 3 defense in the SEC, top 10 overall with who they have coming back. And I do love the addition of Zach Alley. Do you think schematically we're going to see a lot different things at all?
I I think you're going to see some different variations because we do have some really 2 deep, 3 deep personnel, and we're going to be able to sustain some things longer rather than just have packages. You're going to be able to have the next guy up. You can run the same, or it's not going to be you're not going to be identified by the player personnel that comes in. Does that make sense? Like, hey, when number 40 comes in, look out. This is what they like to do. I think we're to the point now that with the rotation of guys, you're not going to be able to undress the defense and think this certain package is this is what you're going to get, which is a great advantage because the way as complicated as Venable's defense is and the jolt of energy that Zach's going to put into it. I mean, you're going to get all kinds of personnel packages. You're going to get stuff coming from everywhere. You're going to get disguises. You're going to get blitz. I mean, it's going to be great because, and then with the addition of the big boys coming up front, it just frees up. We got some outstanding backers. With Danny and some very talented secondary. I mean, just across the board, the defense is going to keep you in a lot of games. Well, which in turns is going to keep a lot of the pressure off the offense. You don't have to score 42 points. 24, 30. If your defense can hold teams to 21 points, 24 points all you need.
Yeah, I see a question here. Claire says, and Claire's a Bama fan. I do know that. How many from the SEC? Hunter, I've been saying 4. I think 3 get into the playoffs. 3 out of the 12 are from the SEC. I don't see how it won't be. I do think the SEC is going to beat each other up a little. And I think 9 and 3, and this is where a lot of people, they want to talk about OU's schedule, how difficult it is, and it is. But that's also could be the reason OU at 9 and 3 goes over another team at 9 and 3 because of OU's difficult schedule. I think 4 could get in. 3 should be guaranteed. Chester says 3.
Well, so look at the ranks. So they're doing it by pretty much ranks. So you got so you have the four championships, right? They're going to get in, right? Whoever wins the championships, and then from there it goes to top ranked. So you got the SEC champion, the big whatever it's called now, the ACC and the Big 12. So you got one there, and then you got pretty much 5 through 11 that's at large. I think number 12 is held over for the group of 5 or the group whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
So there could be room for. I mean, it could be room for 4 or more. I mean. Like you said, especially with the schedule. I mean, it's look at OU's schedule and look at Florida's schedule. Man, that's a gauntlet, man. That's a gauntlet.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines of 4, maybe even 5. I think it's going to be interesting on how those tiebreakers, the rules on it, how they're going to evaluate it in terms of SEC standings. And then that first playoff poll, I think at that point should be about week 8, week 9, where you get enough games to kind of see how it's going before championship November, as they call it, as to how much respect does the SEC get. But I mean, really Big Ten this year, outside of a few of Oregon, Ohio State, I think is going to be really good. What is Michigan going to be? So how many teams do those conferences get? I mean, Big 12 ACC as well. It's going to be interesting to watch there.
Can you imagine a world that if we reverted back to the old days, even last year with 4, just imagine the teams that would be shut out of this thing, man. or if you even go back, to BCS, can you imagine the chaos? I'm so glad that football has evolved, and this is, finally got to a point where, my God, there's a lot of good teams that just, that if you could just get them into, if you just like, if you look at the NFL, if you can just get in it to win it, man, that's what the whole thing's about. So
Yeah,
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. There's a playoff. I mean, finally they
Uh,
got something right.
this model with the super conferences, if there was BCS, it's still that would be some fan bases burning down.
Oh
And,
my God.
you know, it would be awful because how can you look at and pick two teams, computer or not, with how
Yeah.
difficult these schedules are?
Yeah. It's
hey,
crazy, man.
you're getting compliments on your Twitter game, or if it's called the X game, whatever that's called now. You're getting compliments on that. Also, someone asked earlier about. I'm going to scroll through it, but I saw someone ask him a question, Hunter. Maybe you can go back and find it. Oh, tailgating. Does OU need to up their tailgate game?
Was it OU or was it me and was he calling me out? I couldn't.
I think
I
they
think
were
I just.
calling you out, but
Hey, I look, man.
go
Danny isn't
Paul.
the only one that's got some NIL stuff going on. I got some sponsors that we're putting together that they're going to sponsor some, the tailgate that we hang out in. So yes, we're stepping it up. Absolutely. This, Danny, the players aren't allowed to have, alcohol or any of those things be there. But you know what? Papa Top can.
Hey, yeah, Papa Top. It says, hey, Hunter, any more commits coming through? Cortez was the only one that they're getting today. Smith
Yeah,
the Rogbo commit, or I don't know if he officially committed, but he's
committed.
projected to go to Texas. It's official, right?
He committed to Texas. Mark committed to SMU. So Oklahoma goes one of three on the day, but landing the top recruit of the class according to
Yeah.
24/7 Sports so far, and 4-star wide receiver Cortez Mills.
Hey, we do have to talk about Josie's statement today. Steve, I know you probably saw it, his statement, and then the president of the university basically backed Josie up and said that was a mic drop moment. But and you probably have it in front of you, Hunter, but the statement was something about every coach at the university is ready and excited about these SEC, at least all the ones that are still here. It was a shot at Lincoln Riley. I thought it was great.
Yeah, yeah, that was hey, you got to put a little, look, Josie and those guys are still competitive, man. They don't mind throwing it around themselves. I mean, kudos for them for saying that.
Yeah. I know the other night on the live chat, you mentioned, because it was in the chat, and someone actually, before we even went live tonight, I think it was Chester Hunter that maybe talked about the difference in the strength training. Someone talked about Smitty versus Wiley. Uh, I That's not an overnight thing. So Smitty, has been here now 2 years, but I do think physicality at the university has gotten better. And that's really what a lot of people on the outside and probably even the inside, I know BB, when he stepped on campus, said one of the things that's got to change is physicality at that level when you get to the playoffs and you get to those caliber of games. Physically, I think this is probably the best OU has been ready in a long time. I don't know how many years, 10 maybe?
I tell you, man. I mean, I saw, I you know I heard about Smitty before, while we were under Wiley. But you know what? Wiley is a shoot of whatever the Riley and Grinch was preaching, right? So Speed D. So Speed D is not Strength D. So they're teaching speed and numbers over, strength in the trenches, right? And then obviously Riley was more fast paced, wide open. So they taught, so they were gearing up for more, I would say, not strength, but more core and quickness moves and stamina. A lot of running, a lot of. But come on, man. At the end of the day, things are won and lost in the trenches. You just gotta put it together, man, and just, line up and just whoop the guy's, his ass in front of you. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So, I like Coach Smitty. I've had a chance to talk to him, and I can tell you this: not one player doesn't respect or want to give it all for Smitty, and for Coach Venables to you recognize that that's the building block. Those strength guys are with the players probably a lot more than any of the coaches, and they just and for have that mentality, man, they got them right. They got them right where they need them. They're in some phenomenal shape, man. I'm telling you right now, phenomenal shape.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited. Go ahead, Hunter.
Over the last few years, I think a lot of people have talked about on how much the difference in the weight room with Schmitty to then kind of about that midway point in the season where it seems like they're almost collectively as a team kind of gassed from that just the brutal off seasons that you have there. Do you think that that's the case for Oklahoma?
Uh, yeah, I mean, they I think when Venables first got there, they really, really, man, he really drove them hard. And I mean, it was brutal. It was really brutal, man. I think Coach, learning how to be a head coach and how to take a step back from what he was doing defense, just defensive minding. Now you're running the whole ship, right? There's a lot of things to it, and I think he learned a lot his first year that. You got to taper back. You got to have guys for the season, and you hear him say a lot. What's your best ability? Availability, right? And I know, NFL, if you look at how NFL goes about practices and what they do, it's a lot more dialed in than even college. So I think they're learning about that. They do a lot. They do some hitting. It's one on one, good versus good, but not for 2 hours a day where you're just beating everybody up. It's quality hitting, tackling, which is great, man. And those guys get after it, man. You've been to a practice, man. It's they definitely get after it.
I remember the ESPN quote of BV when him and Danny, how they needed each other. I thought that was a cool little story when I was reading that. They're talking about the Johnny Manziel show here about when they beat OU. Hey, listen, Bobby, you're right. Johnny Manziel, the fact that he was partying 7 days a week, I mean, that's when he played his best. I don't know if that's a put down because obviously he seemed to play a lot better. So I mean,
Well,
that's when he was at his best.
he admitted to playing better in that
Oh,
Netflix documentary too. So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, he had zero hours logged in on his iPad in the NFL, and that just see how that translated to his career.
Yeah. Hey, and that's an area, Steve, that people who watch that documentary, they didn't realize that he had never really watched tape. But talk about you the other night said how the playbook, the planning of the game. I forget exactly what you put in the chat last week, but it was interesting about how much behind the scenes and stuff they're looking at throughout the week, prep work that goes into this. It's not just show up and play. There's a lot, and I think the likes of Jaron Canick, of course. I'm expecting some of those guys to make the jump that Danny did. I believe it was 2 years ago to last year. The jump was phenomenal. And part of that is the game has to slow down some where you can just go and play. Don't you think that's what it is?
Well, Jeremy, it slows down when you're comfortable and and you recognize. So when it becomes second nature, and you just know and you can react. The thing that gets people caught up is false foot faults or thinking. And even though you're freaking can run like the wind, you're 2 steps behind. It's too late. That just comes with comfortability. You know, uh, when BV came and Danny was there, he didn't have anybody on the field that could translate this defense to player terms. It took a year. The next year, and he was better. He got to watch film, and then he knew what he could expect, and then he could share. Now you got some guys that have been in the system 2 years. You got Skowski that's was in the system for 6 years. You got Allie. Now it's starting to come together. But going back to the scouting report, so I would come in. Danny, we stay at Danny's house because they stay in the hotel on game day. So I'd come in and go to his room, and he's got his. I'd kind of look at the scouting report, and I find myself pretty savvy at football and defense. So I'm looking at this thing. It's about 75 pages just on one, just on the current opponent. And I'm looking through this thing, man, and I'm like, holy cow, man, this is just 1 week of prep for this team. And it would blow your mind how much information I mean, it's down to what flavor of gum the quarterback likes, and when and when he's on his third stick of gum, this is what you can expect. I mean, it's dialed in. I mean, it's just incredible, and to be able to know that and have to learn all that within 6 days, and go through it. And they do all this prep. Believe it or not, man, they're watching film on opponents already. They've been watching film for the last, since January. They've already watched the, film on every SEC, their current opponent. They've already been putting in the time. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm talking to Danny and where you at? We're up here watching film. I'm watching film of the backers, or we're watching film of the DBs, or that's the stuff you have to do. You have to put that in, and it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. But yeah, I'm telling you, it would blow your mind. I'm looking at this. I couldn't even. It looks like almost Chinese to me, and I thought I was pretty savvy about the game, but Danny's like, nah, dude, you don't think you know anything. So it's pretty intense, and that's something I'd like to, I'm glad I could just share that with the fan base. And there's a lot that goes into it, and not just for that week, man, throughout the whole year on opponents.
Yeah, how much has that changed kind of from your playing days? Like, what was your
Hunter, it's tremendous. I'll be honest. I would go in and watch film the week of, and I'd watch. We would get our game plan on a Sunday. I'd watch some film, but we're talking, maybe 15, 20 plays for the week, and not as, maybe 4 or 5 pages of the scouting report. It wasn't anything like this, man. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. If you go in the facilities and look at their video room, it's. I mean, I think they must have 40 or 50 monitored stations where they can pull tape, and then they have a big monster screen on top. They can put stuff up there, but all the players can go in at any time and pull up anything they want on any opponent.
I got to ask about the Texas Spears, Oklahoma. After that went down, was it just uh, crazy? Your phone blowing up and things like that? Because that quote right there has been now. It's of course there's shirts everywhere, but at that moment it seemed like to me, and I may be wrong, that Danny's drawn some comparisons to Boz before that, but at that point it seemed like people really started comparing him to the Boz with the personality. And I know maybe you can talk about Brian Bosworth. Is there some kind of mentor relationship? Do they talk often, or did that kind of just be like, that wasn't really exactly how it was?
No, I'll answer the first part with that shirt. That speech was for 100% from the heart to his teammates. He had no, you don't know that the crew's rolling. You're things like that you can't script, right? That's just
Right.
a guy trying to pass along, getting his team fired up, and just happened to it caught into a little 30-second clip, which I tell you, I don't know about you guys, but when I saw it, I'm like, holy crap, man, Jesus, I was ready to run through a wall myself.
Oh yeah.
And I text him, I go, dude, I don't know much, but I know that should be on a shirt. And I go, if you don't put it on a shirt, somebody is. And that's what NIL is. I said, dude, you got to do something. And he got with he's got a guy that works with him on marketing, and they put that thing together quick, and it worked out. Um, but yeah, it was. And then back to the Boz, Danny, I told him when we were looking at Oklahoma, and I said, man, you better look. There's some guys you better look at, man. Boz is number one. Tay Lehman, Rocky. There's some great linebackers over the years, and you need to know who those guys are. And so he did, and when he had opportunity to meet Brian and really got to talk to him and pick his brain and ask him, what does it take to be a leader at linebacker? What does it take to play this? And he's really become a mentor. Brian ain't going to sugarcoat it. He'll let you know. And that's what Danny likes. Hey, if I'm doing something wrong, don't just tell me what I need to do, and he'll do it. And I think they got a really cool relationship, and it's awesome to see the Boz around, and of course everybody. Teddy's another one that has Danny has been able to talk to and chat with, and he appreciates Teddy lending his what he's done, and anything that he can help. He's a sponge. He wants to pick it all up.
That's great. Let's answer this question and maybe close with this one. But Zach Alley, I'm super high on him. I know he's young. I do like a lot of the things that I've heard from him as some of his mindset of what they're going to do. But the biggest thing is he has been in the system. You mentioned it earlier. He's been around the system. It's got to help simplify it, I think. Not just that, but you have a lot of veterans on that side of the ball. You saw OU returns more defensive players than any other SEC team. So you got that. You combine that with Zach Alley, someone who's been in there, and maybe, like you said earlier, Steve, can use some language that simplifies it a little. I am super pumped about this year's defense. But do you think adding Zach Alley is going to simplify some of that?
I think it will. I think it takes a lot, with Coach Roof there and BV still having a big part of it. I think Coach Venables is going to take a roll back and just let Zach have the reins on that. Not to say that that BV's be totally out of the picture. I think it's going to be more of Zach being the voice of where it's coming from. It's coming from one voice, with him, and like I said, just with the amount of guys coming back and help simplify things for the new guys. I think it's just going to be a little bit easier to digest, and they'll make the adjustments a lot quicker.
Yeah, and hey, you could pump me up pretty quick, I think, Steve. So I'm gonna let you say something here right at the end and maybe get us all the Surgeaholics pumped up about this next season here.
Well, real quick, I want to ask Hunter, because he's a stat guy. Hey, so you guys saw where Billy was made a comment on was it Jackson Dart throw? Now, didn't they go to high school together, or is there some kind of backstory to that, or that was just throwing some shade on him?
I think it was kind of just a shade thing. I mean,
They don't
unless
have
I'm
any relationship.
I couldn't
don't have any
find
I did
ties.
anything. I mean, Jackson Dart's
last night.
so I couldn't find any sort of a connection between the two of them.
But Steve, last night I did wonder that, because I asked you last night on the show, Hunter, because Jackson Dart was considering Oklahoma at one time, and it was probably around the same time Billy Bowman was coming here. So I thought maybe there could have been something and it was a friendly thing, or maybe it wasn't.
It was during the whole coaching change, and he visited before eventually Dylan Gabriel committed. Yeah, from California, went to USC from Utah, California as well. So not sure on the connection.
Yeah, I think dude. That's pretty awesome, man. Because that's gonna amp up the Ole Miss game a little bit, which is fine, man. That's what it's all about. Well, Dave, I tell you what, man. I'm so pumped, man. The one thing I can count on every night is you guys bringing it, and I may not be on every night, but it's always cool to know that. Hey, when I'm an old guy now, so I slip off. I try to get into bed by 10:30. So I put my headsets on and flip you guys on, and it's awesome. You guys bring it. The fans are awesome. And I tell you what, man, we're not hard to find. We got our tailgate out there. Would appreciate you, any of the fans stopping by and chatting up, have a beer or whatever your choice of beverages. But I'm going to tell you right now, you got to be excited. The fan base has got to be pumped. I know that the Surgeaholics are friggin' ready to rock and roll, and they're going to bring it. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be something to be the first at something is always going to be special. And this is the first Team 130 to enter the SEC, and it's going to be something. I'm telling you, something special to be a part of, and I just can't wait, man. And I'm going to leave that with a big boomer.
That is great, Steve. Sooner, hey, thanks for being here again. We really appreciate it. That's pumping me up. Can't wait. Yeah, what you said there, being the first at something. Great opportunity in front of the University of Oklahoma. Appreciate it again, Steve, and all the Surgeaholics. As always, check out the Fan Stop for some great apparel at fanstop.com. And appreciate you, Steve. We'll see you next time, guys. Boomer.
Sooner, let's go.